Joining us now is the head coach at McNeese. He has been there now over a decade as a head coach, and of course, an assistant prior to that. He's had tremendous success at McNeese. I speak of James Landreneau, returns back to the In the Circle podcast on D1 Softball, powered by 643. It's been a little while, Coach. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Eric. I appreciate you guys having me on.
It's wild. I was looking this up the other day. What is this? Like, I think you've over 10 years now as head coach. Is that right? Is that possible?
No,
Or
yeah,
get that's amazing. And then over a
yeah,
decade, obviously with assistant combined.
yeah. Combined, it is. 2017 season was my first year as the head coach here. So 16, 17 that year. Stayed on. I was here previous 4 years with Mike and Joanna Harden, and so total 4 years, two with each of them. So been blessed, man. Been blessed to be able to stay in one location and stay close to family and friends.
How are you a different coach today than you were when you got promoted and took over this program?
Oh, so many ways, so many ways. I think the biggest thing for me is, um, not trying to fight every single battle and picking out what's important. I think the keeping the mission, and I think there's a time as a coach you kind of you connect with certain players. I think what you want to evolve into is can you connect with more players, not just certain players. And I think that's been the evolve of the relationships and just making sure that we're growing. And I think constant evaluation of the previous season, how do we handle it, where can we get better? And I think that's been the biggest thing is being a little bit way more patient, understanding the process. And it's still, hey, we got to get after. We have to have urgency in everything we do, but understanding the big picture and where we're trying to get to, and being patient in that process to get there. And I think definitely a better job of explaining what we're trying to accomplish so players can understand a little bit better what we're trying to do, and don't always have to agree with it, but at least if they understand your mindset, it's a lot easier to create the buy-in and the culture. And for us, it's always been, can we create a culture where everyone has higher expectations of themselves, not other people have higher expectations of them. And so you have to do a lot of teaching and a lot of once they understand how that benefits them and helps them in their everyday life, I think you're able to get a lot more buy-in from them.
You look, when you reflect back on last year, you win the regular season title. You're a win away from the NCAA tournament. I think you win 40 games. What comes to your mind when you reflect on last year?
Look, when we reflect on last year, obviously there's going to be two things. So it's always what did we do well, what didn't we do well, how can we fix it, and so the things we did well, I was excited that we're able to get some young players to be able to play at a higher level, and to have some consistency enough to win the season outright. Obviously I want to see us be able to finish games a little bit better. I want to be able to finish the season and play with same energy. I think there's some times we started trying to win games instead of just being our best for a pitch. And I think that's where we kind of got bit right there at the end. I think, you have a big lead going into the last game, and maybe you're trying to finish the game instead of just trying to do your job from one pitch. And that's where I want to see us be a little bit better, and hopefully the maturity factor with myself. I got to do a good job of really keeping those things in check in practice and designing practices that promote that kind of level of thinking. We got to make sure our conversation is about today, not about the end of the year, and making sure we make the most every day so we can stay present. And I have to say, I mean, if that's where I think sometimes we got away from our who we really are is we got away from the moment, and we started thinking about end results way too much. And so hopefully capitalize getting our kids back to thinking one pitch at a time this year.
You look at what you got coming back. You look at some of the new faces. Kind of give us a breakdown for people that maybe didn't follow you closely. How your outlook is as you're entering fall ball, and this team starting. And the identity of this now 2026 team that's coming up.
Yeah, a lot of pieces returning that had major contributions last year. I think Jada Munoz come off a great campaign last year with the doubles record, with doubles and 15 home runs. So she comes back as a senior with even for Jada last year, that's her first year to really be a starter, to understand what it's like to be on the field every day. So just a whole different mindset this year. I think going into camp last year, we only had three players that had were continuously starters in Division One level, and so this year I think we have a little bit more experience there and how to expect to play. Obviously, with pitcher of the year coming back and Maddie Taylor, we're excited to have her back. Her second year, maturity factors kicking in. You could just tell the difference in her mindset when she comes into camp right now. Also, Cassie Chance, freshman year last year, really played outstanding for us from the offensive side. A very versatile player. Like the fact that we could play her infield, outfield. She's going to find a way to be in the lineup somehow. Nigel Fontenot comes back as a center fielder for us last year. Had a 400 clip for us, and uh, really got hot towards the end of the year. And so really trying to build on that momentum and that maturity factor. And again, that was Nigel's first time to be in a lineup every day, and so even though she's a redshirt sophomore, she'd never really been a true starter every day. And so you kind of saw the end of the year, her be able to put the mental side of the game together. It was really inspiring to see. So it gives us a lot of hope coming back for this year. Um, Lexi Dibley was out majority of the year last year, and she's a key part for us. So we're hoping to have her back healthy, and she'd be a major contributor for us, as well as we bring Corinne Pancho back, would add some more power to the lineup. And, Corinne's just enjoying herself. It's good to see her having fun playing the game again. And so I think the year off did her some real good to kind of get herself back to where she is, what it looks like right now, which is excited to play the game, being a great teammate. So we're excited about that. Cadence Williams is a freshman coming back that had significant innings for us last year. So hopefully to build on the experience she had last year and how to finish some games and be a little bit more physical of a player. So I definitely like the pieces that come back. We have some key parts to fill in with Bouvier leaving and Reese Rayna not being here. Sam Lundine transferring out. So we have some key parts, but man, I mean, with Dunham coming back as an outfielder, kind of got hot last year for us. And then, someone that a senior come back in outfield, I think will really see significant innings for us is Riley Eister. It's plus speed player out of Mississippi. I think she's going to do a really good job. And then, two transfers come in, right? That's yet to be seen what Riley Cloud's going to do coming from Arkansas, as well as Maddie Weeks coming from Southern Miss. But they're two great middle infielders that are extremely athletic.
You mentioned Pancho coming back. How do you deal with somebody that had a year off? Now they're trying to get back in it. How much patience do you have? How do you work that out? And it's kind of such a fascinating story coming back there. Were you caught off guard when the interest to come back? I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, I started noticing around the games a lot, and I knew she was still had a good relationship with the players, and so you pay attention to things. I said, the end of the season, she was hanging out, and we talked after a game, and she just gives me a call and says, "Hey, I'd like to sit down and talk with you." And so really didn't know where that was going. The conversation was a great conversation. It was a very mature conversation of why she kind of stepped away, and then why, more importantly, why she wants to be a part of the team again, and more importantly, why she wants to be a part of the team here at McNeese. And that was a big thing for us. And for me, I understand when you stay away, the timing, and you have to give the game credit. You know, People play this game year round for a reason, to pick up time and to learn and experience and make sure your timing's good. So for me, it's just reassuring her it takes a little while to get back. That you have to respect the game, you have to respect the effort and what other kids do that were playing last year, and it's not that easy just to jump in where you left off a year ago.
You mentioned Taylor, your returning pitcher, ace. Certainly. How do you envision this pitching staff from a depth standpoint? How do you want a usage standpoint overall?
Yeah, that's going to be a good question. How we're going to match up against certain teams and who's better out the pen and who's better against lefty righties of those things, slappers or not. But obviously we used Maddie Taylor last year a good bit of it, freshman year, and Maddie just was a maturity process. Of actually being able to command and realizing that the repeatability needed to be there a little bit better, and so you kind of saw that the back half of the season where she started to settle in from the mental side. But her and Cadence Williams are just two different type of pitchers. The one wants to just locate and spin it a whole bunch and kind of change speeds on you. Maddie wants to be a little bit more of a curveball and go up in the zone and a little bit more velocity. But you kind of complement that with Ryan Scheck-Snyder that comes from the left side, that could spin it, could really locate really well, was able to change speeds really good for us. So I like that the mix-ups we have right there, and we really feel Lindsay Davis is going to come back this year and be what she was when she was a freshman before the ACL surgery. That she's going to have some good innings for us this year, and you're seeing some progress with her. The repeatability is getting a little bit better, so I like that she's developed a little bit more command and body awareness. Um, bringing in a freshman, Brooklyn Taylor, we expect her to get some innings for us as well. She's looked good so far in individual work. And so I like that we have a lot of arms that are different, that have totally different looks up between the up and down and east and west stuff. So I think in today's game, there's so much information. Like you're going to have depth in the circle to be able to go through that lineup the fourth time. You're going to have to be able, it's hard for one pitcher to go through a lineup four times now. And so I think that's going to be what we try to establish in fall camp this year is who's really good out the pen and who's really good in certain matchups and try to, and then you got to do a good job at being fluid throughout the season.
Obviously there's battles going on right now, but I'm always curious because your teams are usually good when you defensively, when you've made the NCAA tournament. What are some battles that you're intrigued to see play out as far as defensively is concerned, and or maybe there's a standout player that has stood out to you as far as that could be a key weapon there defensively?
Yeah, from the defensive side, I think the middle infield is going to be the real battle that's going on right now because there's no one, it's all new. Reese Rayner kind of held that position for 4 years, and we've always had some depth there. So, Riley Fontenot comes in and had some innings at second base and third base, and we feel like she has a plus glove skill, and she's going to contribute in the middle infield. Is it going to be some rotation at third and second base? There's going to be a lockdown at second base, maybe some shortstop. Cassidy Chance is another middle infielder that had a little bit of innings last year. Then two transfers that come in with Weeks, I think Weeks and Cloud, and then Adi Manalis has done a really good job defensively. And so for arm is there, the glove skills are there. So man, it's going to be an interesting battle through camp because they all know that those two positions are wide open.
Very wide open. Another unique deal about this fall, obviously, is the fact you've got some new faces on the coaching staff. You've got Hope Troutwine on your pitching side. You got a McNeese alum, a player coming back to your staff, and Emily. Take me through the staff here now with as you learn them and they learn you, and the players have to learn them and they have to learn the players.
Yeah, Eric, this is definitely a first for me. The majority of our people, if you going from our GAs that are going to have a more role, our director of ops, Emily, all those people have played for us, that they've been in this program and they either chose to stay or they chose to come back. And Christine Marino doing some outfield responsibility with director of ops, played in the program, left and wanted to come back and be a part of it. And so, Chloe Gomez, Riley Bouvier, Emily Phillips coming back. The biggest thing is they understand the systems. They understand the expectations, and man, that they've been in. So you're not, even though they're in a new position, they're not new to the situation. They're not new to the program, and so I think from that side, they've taken a ton of like work off my plate. Of trying to introduce a new staff that's never been here, just for the simple things of who to contact on campus when we need something. They know these people. They've had relationships with them. But more importantly, they understand what culture is on the program, and they're able to reinforce those things every single day without me having to. They're not learning that part; they know that part, and they've lived it already. So I think that's been a major contribution to me as our team, and it's helping this transition go really smoothly. And then having that many people, I can't say enough good things about Hope Troutwine. Like she comes in, she's open minded, she's energetic, she's positive every day, and just a great fit for the program. And she really meshes with all the coaching staff. And so I think that's been an easier transition than we've had. I think it's the players, having so many former players being on staff, I think helps with her transition. She can hang out with them and they talk and she kind of gets a feel for the program and expectations. So it's been, even though it's a whole new staff, it's been a very easy transition just because they're so familiar with the program and the area and expectation. And then they play, kids that played here have extra pride in the program, right? It's
Sure.
their lump. They our players or watching videos of when they played and they made NCAA tournaments. You take Chloe Gomez has been to NCAA tournaments, Riley Bouvier, everybody on staff has been to NCAA tournament. And obviously Hope has won a championship and a national championship at OU, but I think that brings instant credibility for the program, and they could see the passion that these coaches have for the program.
Is that something? Is that by design? I mean, not by design. They want to come back, so it's got to be on them to want to come back. But
Yeah,
that's got to be an advantage to have people that have been in the program to come back from a recruiting standpoint, from a current player standpoint. Like you mentioned, Chloe Gomez is a grad assistant director of player development. Riley Bouvier is down infield development. Emily, of course, could be your assistant with recruiting coordinator and also run the catchers. I mean, to have people that know what works
yeah.
and knows what the pro. I mean, that you don't have to say it; they know it, and they can send that message to the players. Has to be. I would imagine there's a value there that you can't put a price on that.
No, you can't. Because they've had years of being in the team meeting room, right? They've been the mental training, the understanding how we talk, the verbiage, and so when you bring a new staff in, that's the whole thing is you trying to get familiar with the verbiage and what the expectations are in hitting groups or defensive groups. Well, they already know it. They know how things are going to be presented, and so if when I'm going over something, they have total confidence because they've heard this speech for 4 years. They have total confidence taking that group and being able to talk to them and execute it. And I think those things have been tremendous. And then I think from the players, their communication, the players know they're coming from a good place, whatever they're talking about. And more importantly, the players know that they lived it. Like they've been in the program, they've done the same conditioning test, they've done the same team meetings. They've done everything we've asked them to do. And so I think those things are really invaluable. Right? You can't put a price on them. I think that's the beauty of it. And for me, really notice, when we're sitting in a meeting, we're talking about something, they're like, hey, 3 years ago, this is what we did, and this is how we handled that. Hey, you're right. And we kind of get away from those things sometimes. So just having that reassurance of what worked when they were players gives me some really good feedback as well to make some decisions.
Let's talk about the Southland. It was unique last year with the new format with the conference tournament, 2 weeks, then a best of three there at the end, which ended up being you and Southeast Louisiana. I'm curious from your perspective and even from the rest of the coaches in the league, what's been the feedback on the new format? I know it's coming back. What
Yeah.
was your thoughts on it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the regional format. I think it just made everything felt more like a postseason, because it's a 4 team, it felt like that regional atmosphere. And then you win and then brought some excitement. You have to get it back together and you have to go to like a super regional atmosphere. So I think for the players' experience, I think it's great for the student athlete. I think you get 8 teams sometimes in one place. Maybe you don't feel like that normal traditional NCAA tournament where right now you kind of felt that way. I think it gave student athletes a better experience. It's more realistic for as trying to get out of a regional type setting versus a double elimination 8 team bracket. So and then it was easier to get games in. So you didn't have the rain delays and things. It's you're only playing 2 to 3 games a day, so it's easier to make adjustments to if there's weather issues. So I loved it. I thought it was great for the sport. I thought it was great for our conference, and it was a definitely win for the student athletes experience.
Speak of this conference, it doesn't get the national attention, but it's always dramatic. It feels like I know there's competition. You got Mark Montgomery now in the league and things like that. Just speak of the league overall and where how you've seen it all as an assistant and as the head coach and how the league has evolved.
Yeah, that's definitely evolved. I mean, you see great coaches entering the league. I think the ADs have done a great job of hiring people that are highly competitive and know how to win. You've seen the recruiting process get better within the league. The athletes are getting better and better. And so it's harder to prepare. Like every week, trying to prepare for these teams. There's no easy game. And I think that's been tremendous for the league and make some excitement to it. Eric, let's just take it. The last 4 years, the, the there's been a team from the South in the finals of a regional. With us 2 years and Southeastern 2 years. So that to me that says a lot. That you're getting teams not only getting to the postseason, they're getting to championship play. They're making it to Sunday day and they're making some noise and they beat some good teams to get there. And so that to me that's alone says a lot for the league that South whoever wins the South and is doing really well in the NCAA tournament. And so, our goal as a league is hopefully to get this thing to a two-bid league, and we have to play the schedule to do so. But we have to win some games. We have to win the RPI games and put ourselves in a position where not everyone has to win the tournament to advance. So hopefully we could kind of continue to prove that way. I think we kind of touched on those things in 17 and 18. We had put ourselves in a position where maybe we would have got that large bid if we didn't win the tournament. And I think, obviously Rick's done some great things at Southeast, and now the consistency's there. And Corner Word has definitely been playing better every single year. Kim's doing a great job. And so I like where we're heading as a league.
Well, and you mentioned it. I mean, I remember last year when the brackets came out and everybody saw Southeast Louisiana as a four. Everybody's like, "Oh, wait a minute, what?" What? And unfortunately, LSU, had to deal with that because yeah, I think it's almost to the point where the Southland champion has almost earned the right to be a three seed.
Yeah,
You've been a three seed, like you mentioned, the success in the postseason, and I think it's gotten to the point when McNeese, Southeast Louisiana, the conference schedule is out. Okay, when is that? Everybody circles that weekend, and certainly I remember being in Oklahoma City when I was covering the Big 12 tournament, and I was following your three-game series, championship series,
yeah.
against Southeast. What's it like? Because that's to me, it's exciting softball when your two programs play. I know
Yeah.
Rick's done a great job. You're doing. It's always compelling. Like there's always stakes when you two play. I always feel bad because somebody has to lose, and it's a dramatic. And last year was just as dramatic. But what is it about you two programs that when you play, it's always dramatic, exciting, intense softball?
Yeah, yeah. Look, anytime you're gonna face an opponent that you know is well prepared, that they're coached really well, and they're highly motivated, it's going to brings out the best. I think as a competitor, you want to play against people that are going to challenge you, and I think that's what it is. Like I think both those teams believe they're going to win. They're going to go after. They're going to prepare to. More importantly, it's not that they just believe they're going to win. Both teams are prepared to win, and they're going to do everything possible to do so. It's exciting. It's an intense environment. The fans kind of get after it a little bit, but the players have developed this mutual respect. That they want to beat the brains out of each other. They want to get after it, but there's a mutual respect of, hey, there's two good opponents going after it, and so it's been fun. It's been fun to be a part of. I love playing in those kind of environments. I love playing those kind of intensities where everybody's involved. The fans are invested, the players are invested, and so it makes for exciting softball. I think that's why everybody signs up to play, right? You want to be in that environment as much as possible. So I think that's what you see. You see two well prepared teams, and you see a fan base that both have had fan bases maybe at one time that you know, look, we couldn't get 100 people. We couldn't get, I think we sold in 2017 or something like that. We sold like 13 season tickets. We sell a couple hundred, well, we're 220, something like that, season tickets. Same thing with when you go to Southeastern, that stadium's packed now. So two programs that the fan bases kind of grew up with the program and matured with it. And so you have a lot of pride. And I think that the difference in it's not just the parents that are fans now. You have people in the town that are in both cities that are invested, and so I think that's what breaks some excitement.
The exit committee has moved it to 32 seeds. Is that something that kind of gets your antennas up now? Where hey, now I mean you've traveled outside of Louisiana for a regional, been in Seattle a few years back, but
Yeah,
for the most part, the Southland champion has seems to always been in the state of Louisiana in a regional. Now at this 32 seeds, that may not be the case if you're a top 32 seed. Is that something you all shoot for as a program? Because I know you've been knocking on the door, and the
yeah.
goal with you is to get to a super regional there, right? That's the next step. Does that 32 seeds kind of say, oh, okay, that helps their chances to that goal?
Yeah, I think time will tell. The 32. I'm not real sure how that's going to pan out. I think we want the biggest thing for us is can we put ourselves in a position to where we're qualifying for that NCAA tournament. And look, we've been fortunate, and I think the last two times we've been to a postseason, we went to Chicago, and then we go to
Right.
Washington, and so to get out and play that kind of, that's just exciting because like you said, we expect it to be at LSU, we expect it to be in state, so just to break it up and give, more importantly, to give three, to give three other teams in Louisiana a chance to get out of one, I think it is big. Um, and look, we went to Texas A&M regional, I think, in 2018, and so we were able to get out of the state. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting dynamic how they come up with the rankings and how they do it and how the seating. I think you have to get through the first year to kind of see how it plays out. But I have no control on those things, right? And so we got to make sure we do our job and prepare this off season, make sure we're ready for the schedule that we're going to have, and make sure we're ready to compete at a high level and play our best. And that's what it's going to come down to. We're going to have to stay away from the rankings and those numbers and really focus on doing our job every day.
Well, you obviously are a veteran at the podcast. You've been on this before, on the show before, so you stole my thunder there. I know you're working finalizing your schedules. There's not much you want to say from a non-conference, but if people follow you historically, you don't play easy schedules, non-conference there. So, kind of give us a broad idea of what people might expect from a scheduling standpoint, non-conference for you
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, look, we're going to continue to do what we've been doing. Like the 41 wins aren't scheduled wins. Like it's not easy, and we're not going to go that route. We believe that we need to get our team ready for postseason play, and we got. I feel like you got to play against great teams to do so because it's going to be a great answer to where your team really is. The last thing you want to do is get false hopes and then get to the NCAA tournament and you're not ready to play. You haven't seen those things, so we're excited about it. You know, the same reason a lot of kids, players that come in, they know that I said, go and look at the schedule. If you want to, we want players that come in here, they're looking for a different experience, a little personal experience, that hometown, small family atmosphere, but we want to play a nationally challenging schedule every year. And so that's the things that we're going to do this year. You know, we're going to be, and we've been blessed that, you know, we have good facilities and we have teams that want to come in and play us, you know, over the years, and we're going to continue to do that this year. With it, I think we have a couple of SEC teams coming in that are going to play us, as well as the Big 12 coming in and playing us, as well as the Big 10 as well. Teams, we're finalizing those contracts. We'll have them. It looks like we'll open up. We'll have 3 home series to open up the season at home. We'll have 3 tournaments back to back. So looking probably putting together about a 33, 35 game home schedule right now as it sits. So that's exciting for our fan base, exciting for our players to get to play in front of our community. So, and look, the support and, you know, our community's done a great job of supporting those tournaments, which allow us to continue to bring good teams in.
Well, and you have an eye for talent from an opponent standpoint. I mean, I was looking at your last year's schedule, for example. You had Maris opening weekend, NCAA tournament team, really good explosive offense. Joe Asanio does a great
Yeah.
job there. You had Tennessee coming around Valentine's, which was pretty cool to get to test yourself against them, among other teams. You had Ole Miss, who ended up going to the World Series. There, Auburn, you went to Auburn there. They were an NCAA tournament team. That's just a small sample of things that you scheduled even just last year. We're not even going over the years past other teams that you've scheduled program there. Where does that come from there? You know, how fortunate are you to that you've got major programs that want to come to your place? It's not like you have to travel all the time. I remember, you know, when I met you a few years back when you did the Florida swing, I think you played UCF in Florida back to back. So
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
shy, but you have other program, you know, marquee programs, you know, saying, "Hey, yeah, we're willing to come to your place."
Yeah. I don't know how much of it's stupidity when you're talking about, you know, security in the job, but you definitely you want to feel the stress. You know, I always tell kids, look, man, it's easy to get prepared for one team every once in a while, but I like the back to back, right? For the mental side of having to go through a little bit of grind. Obviously, you know, teams in the SEC, that's what they deal with every day, right? You're facing All American after All American every single day and getting prepared. So for us to be able to get that non-conference schedule ramped up, and where if you make mistakes, you're going to get exposed. I think that just prepares you. Your kids know they got to get up every week. They go watch film. Hey, it's a reset button. It's got to have a short memory. You got to be able to get yourself up and ready, which is hard. People don't realize, I think, the difference from the mental side of being able to have to get up and play that way every single day. And because when you get to conference play, everybody's going to play your best game. You know, you got to take that mentality, throw the records out the window, throw whatever's happened up to that point. When you get to conference, it's going to be a dang dog fight. And so if we could get prepared, last thing you want to do is get in a fight and you hadn't been in one, you know. And so we need to get in a fight. We need to see what that thing's about. We need to see how we handle press, the stress as much as we possibly can, and see if we're capable. And then go to drawing board and how can we handle it better, right? Um, So I love that aspect of it. Yes, and we're lucky now that people want to come in and play. You know, a couple of years ago, we had OU come in for a tournament. And it's great sellout, it's great environment. I think we're going to have a couple of teams come in this year that are going to sell that stadium out as well. And that's going to be exciting. More importantly, it's really exciting for our community, right? They don't have to go on TV to watch these talented teams play in. They get to come in to the park and support McNeese playing against these teams. And so I think it's good for the sport to grow in the area to be able to bring those teams that they may have never saw play in person before. So it's a win-win all the way around. And we try to do a great job of hosting teams when they come in to make them want to come back and put on a good event. And so it's important to us to be able to attract those teams again.
Couple last things before I let you go. You mentioned earlier Joanna Harden. You worked under Joanna Harden when she was at McNeese. Now she's kind of having that success at Virginia. What's it been like seeing that kind of her hard work pay off over there at Virginia? Because that took a while. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not an easy job when she took over from afar. As somebody that knows her and worked for her, what's it been like to see her now, that success now paying off with her now back to back in the NCAA success she's had at Virginia?
Yeah, so happy for Joe. You know, her and her staff, and like you said, it was an easy road. And you know, we used to joke that Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was it neither was it destroyed in a day. And look, she's been laying the footwork and the base to get that program to where it is, and just knowing what she's been through and how she's getting there, the old-fashioned way, just working her butt off and putting her nose to grind. There's nobody else you're going to find in college softball that cares more about her players and the program and her coaching staff than Joanna Harden. Like she loves her players, she loves her staff, and she cares about the interest. I've always said this about her. There's no one that's going to care more about the best interests of the program and the university than Joe. And so now she's getting to see the fruits of her labor. It's fun to see for someone that you care so much about and have tremendous respect about for.
The last thing is how fall ball will get going. It's unique because this year, last year you mentioned you kind of had a young roster last year. This year you got more experience on the roster, but it's the staff that's new.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a key, obviously, anecdote is from the fall. But what are some keys that you want to see in the fall to get you ready for the season?
Yeah, I think probably what every coach probably says. I'm probably giving you coaching talk now, but really and truly is consistency. And what I'm saying, like the effort to be there every single day, and the mental side to be able to prepare every day. I think moving on from past days. I think sometimes last year, especially this group, we'd hold on to bad days, and as well as we'd hold on to good days. We just thought because we had a good day, the next day was going to be a good day, and we didn't go out and prepare and do the things necessary to have that good day. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing for our team is can we be consistent in our effort and attitude every single day. And I think if we could control those two things every day, then the performance kind of comes with it. So just making sure we prepare and bring the best version of ourselves every day.
Well, Coach, I know you're busy this time of year as you're getting set for the fall ball and getting set for the season. Before you know it, it's coming around the corner. But it was good to get you back on the podcast. Like I said, I've always enjoyed watching you teams play from afar. And like I said, it's good to get you back on the show. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us and talk about the program and your team. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Hope to have you on down the road. But thanks for coming on and talking to us here on In the Circle on D1 Softball.
Absolutely, Eric. Thanks for having me. And anytime you want me on, I'm on. You do a great job. So I appreciate you.